What's up, weekend warriors? It is upon us. The bye-apocalypse is upon us. There are so many teams on bye, 6 teams on bye, as a matter of fact, but they're just really important to fantasy. A lot of the teams that are on bye, Buffalo, Minnesota, a lot of teams with, just fantasy players. And then there's Jacksonville, who's on bye too, who, has a few fantasy players, but that combined with injuries and lack of depth at running back to begin with a lot of teams in the NFL changing, just makes for a really tough week for teams to field lineups. And the waiver wire was hot, and it's an important week. I know Otley's had week 7 scheduled on his calendar for the past, since the draft, and he's going to be playing me this week, and he's made some trades along the way to improve his chances of winning week 7. I made a trade myself this week to try to give myself an opportunity over the next couple weeks to get some running back depth and help, even though it's a rental, with some ominous news on Gibson and not really knowing what's going on there. I just had to make a move. So we're in the thick of it. I said that last week. We're scratching and clawing. Guys like the Ernest Johnson, shout out Kev, picked up a guy who would have gone for double-digit fab last week and put him on his bench. It was a good move by him. A lot of luck to do with it. That was the name of the song here, but theme this week, that's part of it. So, but diving into things, a recap from last week. I was 2-3 with my picks. I was wrong about myself. I lost to Terry, not only by a little bit, I had 140 points, which is enough to win normally, but Terry had 180 and was the high scorer for the second week in a row. He had a bunch of guys, namely Jonathan Taylor, Josh Allen, just go off on me. CeeDee Lamb, him also. So congratulations to Terry. I was wrong as well, picking Chris over my dad. I picked Chris again, and he loses. Chris, I don't know what to do here. Dean beats Chris. Jake over Pearson, that happened. Kevin over Otley, that did not happen. Otley pulled the upset. And then I had Burt over Malone. That was correct. So, 2-3 on the week, 16-13 on the season. Pretty good with my picks. I strive for above 500. No special guest this week. It's been a busy week. We will have a special guest next week. We'll tease it throughout the week. I was 1-1 on my picks in the NFL, bringing me to 4-8 on the season. 0-5 in my last Thursday night picks. 2-0 in my last other picks for the week. So, maybe follow that one. 4-8 on the season. I got 2 winners this week. Starting off tonight, Thursday Night Football. It smells terrible. It's a 40.5 point over-under. The weather's a little shaky maybe. I'm going with the team that has a slew of injuries, but is somehow still favored. Denver is not that good. Take the Browns, -1.5. You're not going to like it. It's going to smell really bad. I think you just take it, you hold your nose, and the Browns win by a field goal. Case Keenum versus Teddy Bridgewater, 2 ex-Viking quarterbacks. Keenum is not a good quarterback, but he's a good backup, and I think he's maybe even an upgrade than Baker right now, with Baker playing through injuries. I think they're going to run the ball. I think they're going to do enough at home with that defense to win. So Cleveland -1.5 is my official pick. It was -1 earlier. I'm changing it to -1.5 because that's what it went up to. So, jumping into the matchups, some really good matchups this week, some really bad matchups this week. We're going to start out with what I want to call the Shit Bowl. And this is coined from Chris, his name being Team Shit Brown. This could very well have a big factor in the bottom of the standings this year. I say that, look guys, it was only 6 weeks in. There's more than half of the season to go. Chris, Pearson, Malone, all you guys could run the table and make the playoffs. Chris probably poised to do it the most out of these teams. I think he has the most talent on his team. But 4-2 is currently in the playoffs. You're 3 games out of a spot. Team like Chris, with a lot more points, better opportunity. Pearson's listening to this right now. And he's just, saying, forget about it. I've moved on. I've turned the page. The current champion will continue to fight. But this game, I keep picking Chris to win, and he loses. This week, both teams with some bye week issues. More Chris with Eckler, Claypool, Schultz, and Nick Chubb out on top of it. Chris has Mark Ingram in his lineup, which is very sickening. He's got his two Bengals, Chase and Mixon at Baltimore. Still has Kyler at home against Houston. A.J. Green in that matchup. Starting Darnell Mooney, Mark Ingram we mentioned. Pearson gets Kamara back. He's got Burrow. Antonio Brown banged up. A.J. Brown eating too much fast food. Jacoby Myers, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Some just really tough starts in this matchup. But it is the bipocalypse. We're going to see this a lot this week with some teams. Pearson's favored. I think Chris could easily win this game. It's going to come down to some of their star players having good or bad games. But Kamara at Seattle, coming off the bye, should have a good week. This one is literally a coin flip. I had Chris written down, and now I'm kind of talking myself into taking Pearson. Every time I pick Chris, he loses. I'm taking Pearson. Pearson, this is the week. PP gets back on track, balls deep over Chris. I'm changing it literally right now on my sheet. Sorry, Chris. But you seem to do better when I pick you to lose, so go for it. Moving on to the next matchup. Would have made it the matchup of the week, but Terry's got a tough week this week. 2 weeks in a row as the top scorer, 5-1 on the season. But he's got some bye week issues. CeeDee Lamb, Josh Allen, Pollard, Shenault, Kareem Hunt injured. So Jake is catching Terry at the right week. Talk about a team on the rise. My brother's team. I crapped on it earlier in the season. How is he this good with this team? He had a fortunate schedule. Now his team is legit. I really think, Fournette is a top 10 back right now. He might not be all season, but he is right now. James Robinson, same thing. He's a top 10 running back right now. He's on bye this week, and he's got the anomaly Gaskin in, who could have 0 or 30, but he's got a good matchup. And his receivers, Diggs, you knew he was bound to go off last week. 11 targets, 9 for 89 and a touchdown. He's solid. Devontae Adams. Pittman's been good. Gesicki's basically a wide receiver, and really Lamar is the guy who is really taking a step forward. So I'm gonna pick Jake in this matchup because of Terry's issues. Tyreek Hill is not right. He hasn't practiced all week. Jonathan Taylor's been great. A little tougher matchup this week against San Francisco. And just losing Josh Allen and having to play Matt Ryan, even in a good matchup, I don't think he's going to get enough points. That being said, Mark Andrews has been great, and Cordero Patterson has a great matchup as well. So if those Falcons connect and have a big week, Terry could easily win this game. But I'm taking Can You Dig It in week 7 to have a win over Terry. Moving on to the next matchup, Pearson's father versus Teabag. Valone in the dumpster. If he's had a game, circle on the calendar. It's this one. He wants to beat Lawson, as he calls his lover Kevin. And look, if Valone beats Kev, even though Kev has a better record, Kev's going to hear about it. And we know if Kev beats Valone, he might change his team to Valone's father. So Kev made a trade with me to acquire Allen Robinson. It's a long-term play rather than a short-term play. Obviously, Chuba better in the short term. But Kev had an abundance of running backs all of a sudden and wanted to get, obviously, Dearness Johnson in his lineup this week tonight. I think he has a nice week tonight. But he does have Herbert on bye, Jefferson on bye, Knox on bye with a broken hand. So that forces him to make a decision now with Allen Robinson. Does he play Waddle? Does he play Renfro? Obviously, he's playing Mike Evans. He's obviously playing Aaron Jones and DeAndre Swift. So Kev's still a very solid team. He's got a lot of key pieces that I think, especially with Montgomery coming back soon in a few weeks, I think Kev is poised to make a nice run. But this week he's definitely hurting. Valone also hurting. No Saquon. No Dak. He's got guys in his lineup. T. Higgins, good player, has underperformed. Terry McLaurin, nicked up. Elijah Mitchell, is this the week? Devontae Booker, Tua Tagovailoa with Dak out. Let me look at my sheet because now I'm talking to myself. I'm going with Kev over Valone. I'm not picking Valone. He's 1-5. You picked Valone, and it has not led to success so far this season. So I'm taking Kevin, but I think Valone could pull the upset here in Week 7. Moving on to the next matchup. It's the matchup of the week runner-up. And the reason being is because the next matchup, spoiler alert, is the matchup of the week. But Dean versus Burt, and Dean, got to give credit to Dean here because even without McCaffrey, Dean able to have Josh Jacobs at home against Philly, Darrell Henderson, who has been great, at home against Detroit, and James Conner at home against Houston. 3 good running backs in Bipocalypse week without McCaffrey, and he has J.D. McKissick on the bench. So shout out to Dean being able to field a great running back crew. Metcalf takes a hit, obviously, without Russell Wilson, but he's still a big body and ready to receive targets. Robert Woods and Devonta Smith and Patrick Mahomes. This is probably the best roster in our league this week with the Bipocalypse and some of the matchups here. Dean has a fantastic roster. Brett, got to give credit to Brett here too. Give credit to the other side. Spent up for Darrell Williams. Everybody said it was too much money. He looks like a top 10 back right now with Clyde out. He's got Tennessee in a great matchup, and Brett needed him because he has a bunch of buys this week. Zeke, Najee Harris, Keenan Allen, Marvin Jones. So he puts his into the lineup. Stafford revenge game against Detroit. Pause. Whoop. Here's my pick. Lay the points. 15.5. Detroit. I was like, oh, Dan Campbell cried. They're probably going to win next week. Meaning last week. And then they just came out. They got their doors blown off at home against Cincinnati. The Rams and Stafford. Stafford wants to prove it to the Lions. I like the team total, too. It's 33.5. It'll probably go up to 35 by Sunday if you want to lock it in now. Stafford's going to have a game. And another good matchup for Brett. Damian Harris at home against the Jets. So shout out to Brett for having some running back depth here. Picked up Tyler Boyd, who was cut by Dean, and immediately put him into his lineup. He's got Marquez Callaway in his lineup. He's got Robbie Anderson and Tyler Lockett without a quarterback. He's got 4 wide receivers that I don't think one of them is a wide receiver too. And that is the reason why I'm picking Dean over Brett. Brett poised and has a good team for the season. A little weak at receiver for sure. Even he needs Tony to be healthy. He needs Keenan Allen to start doing things. He needs Galladay to be healthy. But I'm taking Dean here versus Brett. And Dean running up the standings here, 3-3, getting a big win. And the matchup of the week, it's gonna be me and Ott. Ott's had this. He does have bye week issues, but he's had this circled on his calendar, like I said, since draft day. Rodgers at home against Washington, great matchup. Running back, he's weak. He's weak, not just this week. He's weak in general. Now, he does have Dalvin Cook. He's kind of like me in the fact that we have a really good running back, and then we don't have much else after that as far as running back comes. Got Zach Moss on bye, Dalvin Cook on bye, Mike Williams on bye, and Adam Thielen on bye. So, but Javonte Williams and Latavius Murray, a very questionable Latavius Murray in his lineup right now. He's got 2 tight ends in his lineup. Granted, they're both good, Kelsey and Gronk. Don't know if Gronk's going to play. Ridley at home at Miami, coming off of his personal issue. And he should have a good week against Miami. And DJ Moore against the Giants, another great matchup. So some good matchups for Ott, mixed with some questionable injured guys between Gronk and Murray. My team, little fun fact, I'm 4-2. I don't think I have the best team, but I have good players, meaning I have the number 1 quarterback ranked on the year, the number 1 running back ranked on the year, and the number 1 wide receiver ranked on the year to date. That's pretty impressive. They probably won't last. Well, Henry, barring an injury, knock on wood right now, is definitely the favorite for running back 1. I don't know if Cooper Kupp will stay as the wide receiver 1, but at home against Detroit in that game where I like the over. Should be a very good game to keep it up. And Brady obviously has been phenomenal. So my bye week issues, really the only one is Emmanuel Sanders. However, he has been great. So I'm putting Christian Kirk in my lineup after I shipped out Allen Robinson. It's going to be a close game. Antonio Gibson is like an anomaly for me. He looked like he died. Then he got stuck in the MRI machine. Now he's practicing again today. Mind is blown. So I know you're laying in the weeds. Oh, I got bye week issues. Oh, the schedule's fixed. Oh, all this stuff. No mercy. I know you want to win this one really bad. You're foaming at the mouth probably watching this. I'm getting you all hot and bothered. Take my picks. I've been hot in college football. I'm hitting like 80% of my bets for the last 2 weeks. It's not going to last. Thursday night lock tonight. Rams on Sunday. Next week, special guest. And boy, we didn't even talk about the Sixers. Yeah, Ben Simmons, man. It's just a tough time to be in Philly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Sixers. Commish out. Go Browns.